All right, welcome to today's Explainer. Today, we're diving into a story called The Honest Penny. It's this fascinating village tale about a food stall, but honestly, it is so much more than that. It perfectly captures the absolute extremes of human psychology, from the sheer grit of hard work to the toxic, destructive nature of jealousy and ultimate forgiveness. So, let's jump right in.
To kick things off, let's look at our two main characters. Think of them as basically two opposite case studies. First up, we have Ramu. He is fiercely driven, operating with this incredibly pure growth mindset. He is ready to build something entirely from scratch. But then, on the flip side, we have his friend Somu. And Somu? Well, he suffers from a pretty massive sense of entitlement. He desperately wants to be wealthy, but absolutely despises the actual work required to get there. It's fascinating because, they're friends, but their internal compasses are just pointing in completely opposite directions.
Ramu's ambition eventually crystallizes into a concrete plan. He's going to open a Panpuri stall in Keshavapura. But right out of the gate, he hits that universal entrepreneurial. We've all heard this one, right? He needs capital, but he has zero collateral. He goes to the local moneylender, a guy named Sethji, looking for 20,000 rupees. But Sethji operates strictly on pledges. And Ramu, coming from absolutely nothing, literally has nothing to offer.
At this point, Ramu feels he's actually ready to just abandon the dream right there. But then his mother steps in, acting basically as his ultimate angel investor. She selflessly offers up for only gold chain to pawn, reassuring him, hey, don't worry, we'll buy it back once the shop is actually profitable. And even when Ramu hesitates, which is totally understandable, she completely insists. It's this foundational act of faith that literally bankrolls his leap into the unknown.
Mother's chain, Ramu heads back to Sethji. But of course, the harsh financial reality of borrowing hits him pretty hard here. Sethji appraises the gold and offers him only 15,000 rupees. Now remember, Ramu calculated he needed 20,000, so this is a pretty critical shortfall. But despite that gap and the notoriously strict interest terms, Ramu really proves his determination here. He accepts the risk, takes the 15,000, and gets to work.
Let me walk you through the absolute emotional roller coaster that is Ramu's first 48 hours. I mean, it is wild. He goes straight from pawning his family's gold to excitedly opening up his stall. But that grand opening? It's a devastating failure. Yet, as you'll see, almost instantly, day 2 brings this incredibly dramatic turnaround.
So on that very first day, despite all of his hype and enthusiasm, Ramu manages to sell exactly 5 plates. 5. That equates to a meager 100 rupees. Just imagine the crushing reality of that failed launch. He goes home feeling completely disheartened, totally convinced that these tiny earnings won't even cover his basic travel expenses, let alone pay back the loan for his mother's gold.
Frankly drowning in despair. His mother remains his absolute rock. She reminds him that, businesses actually take time to build awareness. You don't just open and instantly have a crowd. She urges him to eat, get some sleep, and try again tomorrow with the exact same level of effort. And it is solely because of her resilient optimism that Ramu finds the strength to go back out there. And guess what? Her intuition is completely...
Because day two brings massive crowds. Ramu's business absolutely booms. He's thrilled, and he rightfully attributes this massive success to his own honest hard work. But, and here's where things get complicated, this prosperity catches the eye of his friend Somu. Seeing Ramu thrive like this just sparks a really bitter envy in Somu. It's a classic textbook case of zero-sum thinking. Somu essentially believes that Ramu's newfound success is somehow coming directly at his own expense.
Learning from Ramu, Somu attempts this remarkably lazy shortcut. He opens a copycat shop right next door. Literally right next to him. But here's the kicker. He puts zero effort into the actual recipe. He essentially builds his entire business model around serving terrible food, and predictably, people try it exactly once and never return. So while Ramu's shop is absolutely packed, Somu's stall is just sitting there empty. His supposedly clever shortcut collapses.
Somu is left sitting at home, just fuming. He's watching all these crowds flocking to Ramu while his own stall fails day after day. And he completely refuses to take responsibility or, actually put in the work to improve his product. So, when a lazy shortcut fails, what exactly happens to that kind of unchecked jealousy? What desperate measure does a person actually take when they simply cannot handle their own failure?
Well, the answer is, frankly, completely unhinged. Somu realizes he can't compete on quality. So instead of, say, spending a few hours improving his recipe, he decides the best course of action is to just murder his friend.
I mean, it is a chilling, absolutely absurd leap of logic. He genuinely convinces himself that eliminating Ramu entirely is somehow easier than just learning how to make a decent
And this
plate
brings
of-
our two characters into this incredible, tense collision. On one side, Somu is totally consumed by malice, plotting ultimate sabotage purely out of envy. Meanwhile, on the other side, Ramu has been noticing for a week that Somu's shop is empty. But Ramu doesn't gloat over a defeated rival. He doesn't rub it in. He just sees a friend who is struggling, completely unaware of this absurd, deadly plot, decides to walk over and help.
The dramatic irony in this moment is incredibly powerful. Somu is literally standing there, holding on to this dark, murderous intent, when Ramu approaches him with just absolute, genuine warmth. Ramu gently suggests that, hey, maybe Somu just needs a little bit of help with the preparation. And then without even a moment of hesitation, Ramu offers up his greatest business asset totally for free, his secret recipe. He volunteers to personally train his direct competitor.
Unprompted act of grace? It just completely shatters Somu. The sheer contrast between Ramu's generosity and his own incredibly dark intentions is just way too much for him to bear. Filled with this immense, crushing guilt, Somu completely breaks down and confesses everything. He admits the horrific truth to his friend, saying, "Forgive me, I had it in my head to kill you." He is completely disarmed by Ramu's
Now, honestly, you would probably expect Ramu to just turn and run away after hearing a confession like that. But instead, Ramu kind of just brushes it off. He forgives Somu right then and there, insisting that they really should just be helping each other instead of fighting. It perfectly demonstrates how radical empathy is just the ultimate de-escalator. A pure heart and a real willingness to forgive completely neutralize what could have been a deeply tragic situation.
Let's distill the core takeaways from all of this. First, authentic effort creates sustainable success. There are simply no shortcuts to building real value. Second, toxic envy doesn't actually hurt your competition. It just destroys you from the inside out. And finally, radical forgiveness has this incredible power to disarm even the deepest animosity, actually transforming bitter rivals back into allies.
We're going to leave you today with a lingering thought. When you see someone failing, especially someone who maybe envied you or even tried to tear you down, what will your first instinct actually be? Will you choose judgment, or will you extend a helping hand? The choice you make right there might just transform both of your lives. Thanks so much for joining us for this explainer, and we will catch you in the next one.